Hello and welcome to another pattern recognition video featuring advanced patterns rated 1800 to 2000. Lately I've been doing beginner and intermediate puzzles, but I didn't forget those more advanced players out there. So what I plan to do is have a mix and kind of alternate. I'll do some beginner puzzles, intermediate, advanced, and in the future I'll have some expert and even master and higher, or well, I guess master unless you're talking chess master and then grandmaster, but I'll probably do all that at a later time where I go to the hardest puzzles. But back to this video for advanced players. Now, if you're not familiar with pattern recognition, you basically solve a series of puzzles. I'll probably do 5 puzzles in this video. And you go over them multiple times. That way, you don't just solve a puzzle once and forget about the patterns that are in it. And pause the video at any time if you need to think longer. So here we have the white pieces, and the opponent has just jumped their knight that was on this nice outpost here over to g5. What does this move do? I guess it limits the mobility of the king, so the king can't come forward. But, what do you do if you're trying to figure out a puzzle or in a chess game? I would say you want to count up the material first to see where you're at. So we have 3, 4, 6 pawns. Our opponent has 6 pawns. We each have a knight, a queen, and 2 rooks. So material is even. What does white have here that can win the game? So let's take a look at this. Anytime you have a piece that is sitting there unprotected, so we have an unprotected queen and an unprotected knight, you can start looking for possible tactics. And how do you go about doing this? Well, I recommend, and not just me, many chess masters feel that you should look for checks, captures, and threats in that order. Checks first because they're most forcing. So do we have any checks? We have this check, but the king could just capture. And then I don't see any good follow-up after that. So that looks to be the only check. What about captures? Well, we're not attacking anything. There's nothing we can immediately capture, so we have to look for a threat. I mean, we could capture this pawn, but that doesn't do anything. We'll just lose the rook. So now we have to look at threats or attacks. And then if you don't have any of that, then you just look to optimize your position or improve your pieces just by maybe taking your worst place piece and improving it, something like that. But we're looking for a win here. All right. Well, the queen doesn't have many places that it can go. It can't take this rook. Can't go here, of course. It'll be captured, or here, because the knight is covering that pawn. Queen can't go here or here. So it looks like this queen is really limited on where it can go. It's pretty much trapped. So I'm thinking if we bring our other rook over and attack the queen, then what can the queen do? If the queen goes here, delivering a check, we could take, the knight would take, and then we capture and we go up by a knight. So that's one option for our opponent. Maybe they counterattack our queen. That might be a possibility. Another option might be giving up their rook here. But then we just capture a rook. So probably the queen will move over here. If we move our rook Is there a better move though? If we bring the other rook over, well then the queen can kind of escape here. So I'm thinking we have to bring this rook over and attack. The queen will probably go here, but then we can capture, and then we'll go ahead and knight. All right, let's try that. And yes, that's what they want. So we just go up by a knight here, and that extra knight should be enough to win the end game. All right, that was a 1980 rated problem. And as I mentioned, these problems will be in the beginner and intermediate puzzle series. I'm going to start lower and work our way up, but because advanced level is a 200 rating point bracket, 1800 to 2000, then I'll just make all of the puzzles in that rating group at that level. All right, next puzzle. If we want to get 5 of them done, I better get moving here so the video doesn't take forever. All right, the pawn is just pushed forward here, threatening not to promote at the moment because our knight is covering that. But let's count up the material. We have 3 pawns. Our opponent has, 5? So we're down by 2 pawns, although we have a bishop for those 2 pawns. So we're actually, bishop's worth 3, of course, so we're ahead by the equivalent of 1 pawn. Okay, if we're looking for checks first, do we have any checks on this king? Yes, we do have a possible check here. But then the king could run forward. And I'm not seeing any good follow-up. All right. Whenever the king is in a position where it's almost stalemated, where it just about has no moves or a very limited number of moves, like here, the only place the king can go is there. Then you want to think about trying to trap that king and deliver a check, or a checkmate. So maybe, do we have time to go here and threaten the checkmate? If we do that, our opponent will probably push forward so our knight can't move to f3. But then we could sacrifice our bishop and then bring the knight up here. So let's see if that works. So we move our king here. The king, our opponent's king, has nowhere to go. And our threat is to bring the knight to f6 and deliver a mate. So if they try to stop that with the pawn, then we can capture that. If the knight captures, then we can deliver the mate. All right, here we go. All right, so that's what they were looking for. That was a 1960 rated problem. Let's move on to problem number 3. What do we have here? Okay, if we count up the material, we have the white pieces. We're ahead by the equivalent of a pawn. So what do we have? 8 points. They have 7. The king is attacking our bishop, so we need to do something about that. Or excuse me, the king is attacking our rook, and their bishop is attacking our bishop. So, but we're attacking them as well. Now, if we're looking for a win here, how can we go about winning? Well, Maybe we can threaten. If we're looking at checks first, I don't see any good checks. The rook can't go here or here. It'll just be captured. We have a bishop that could go there, but it'll be captured by the other bishop. So no good checks. No good checks. This capture, would that be that great? Probably not. We take their bishop. Then they'll take our rook. And that would be a draw because our dark squared bishop would prevent the opponent from marching their pawn down here and promoting. But if we're going for a win, can we do this? If we do that and then threaten a discovered attack, what checks does our opponent have? And remember, you always have to look at the checks, captures, and threats of your opponent as well. They could go here. And then, I guess, what do? We could go after their other... Go after their other bishop. So, yeah, this one's kind of tricky if you're going for a win. I'm thinking the first move is to go here, and then you have a discovered attack. Once you move this rook, maybe you could pick off one of these bishops, but they're going to be able to check you in the meantime. So maybe they go here. Then where can we go? Maybe attack this other bishop. And if they go here, our discovered check wouldn't be doing much anymore because our king would block it from being able to attack this bishop up here if our king is there. Unless we go in the other direction. All right, so bishop, if they check us, maybe we go up this way. The other bishop can't check us there. All right, I'm going to speed this along. I'm just going to make this move. Here we go. So that was what they wanted. Okay. So, yeah, I wasn't expecting that move. Now, of course, we can't take the bishop because the king will capture our rook. So if we're trying to go for a win, do we go here? If they take, we take. They still have that pawn, but the king's in the way. So if we take, all right, so let's look at this again. Discovered check. So they capture. Then we capture. Then the king is going to try and move. All right, so yeah, these are getting more difficult. What would you do in this position? Probably go there. We'll be ahead in material, but with a pawn and the bishop, unless there's another tactic after that. After they take, we take, and we'd be attacking their bishop. All right, I don't know. I'm thinking that's the move to go. No, they don't like that. Wow. Okay, what am I missing here? What am I missing? Maybe go here instead? No? Okay. There's something that I'm definitely missing here. What is it? Is there any kind of checkmate trap? Oh, this is crazy. Okay, I don't know what I'm missing here. Do we go after this? That doesn't look good. They just take our rook. If we're looking for a win, we need to keep that rook. Do we go there? Okay, I'm just going to play some moves out because I do not know what they are looking for here. I need a hint, I think. Okay, of course, yeah, the hint is that we have to move that rook, but where are we moving this thing? Go there? No. Go there? No. Go there? No. What am I not seeing here? No. Oh my gosh, I don't know. What? Oh. Okay, yeah, I didn't even think of that move. Placing the rook, but it can't be captured because of the discovered attack. Wow. Okay. Now what? You can check again. Okay. Well, now our rook is under attack again, so we probably have to take this bishop. Oh, and then that. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that is crazy. Yeah, that was that was an advanced puzzle there. That one gave me trouble. I hope you did better or saw some of that. Okay, let's move on to the next one. That was some great work by the rook there. If this came from an actual game on chess.com, then great job by that player. All right. Material. We have 4 pawns. Our opponent has 4 as well. Minor pieces. We have 2. They have 3. So are we just down by a bishop here? So, and the pawns again, 4 versus 4. Sorry. I don't know. I might have miscounted. That last problem kind of melted my brain a little bit. Okay. What do we have? If we're looking at checks first, well, our queen is under attack, so we have to deal with that. We do have a check here that looks pretty good. But we have to watch out. Our opponent has some checks against us. Well, at least, no, they can't go there because our knight is covering that. But it's our turn, so check. The king would be trapped. The only thing to do would be to block here. but then we could take and renew the check. So that looks pretty good. I'm thinking that's what we need to do. So we go here, delivering a check to the king. The king cannot move to the H file because of our queen. So the only move, remember when a king's under attack, what are the options? Capture the attacker, block the attacker, or run. So they would have to move forward. Nothing can capture our bishop. The king can't run, so blocking with the rook's the only move. So here, here, now we probably should just take with check. And if the king takes, well, then we can take with check by our queen. And is that enough? Because we were down by a piece. So let me count the material again. 4 pawns versus 4. We're down by a bishop. Okay. So if we go there, they block. If they block, we take. King takes. We can grab this pawn with check, but then the king can hide behind the bishop. And remember, this queen is covering the bishop. So we do have this other rook. And I've mentioned this in other videos. It takes usually about 3 pieces to deliver a successful checkmate. But if we give up that one, let's see. It takes more or less that. I mean, sometimes it takes more or less depending on how many defenders your opponent has. Okay, so we take that. King ends up here. Maybe we bring the other rook in first. And we're still threatening to capture here. I don't know. We probably have to capture with that first. And then we could threaten to bring our rook up here. But then they could move their bishop and have the other rook available. So one more time. Check, block. Our queen's under attack, so we need checking moves, or we have to capture this. So I don't know. I'm thinking we take, king takes, and ends up here. Then we well, then we could go there. If they do some crazy move blocking with that bishop, we can still go there and check. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Check, take. Okay, now, do we activate this other rook? Is that the best move? If we do that, they could block with... Another option might be to take with the rook and have a discovered attack, but this queen could jump up here and help defend. So maybe we go here immediately. The bishop goes there. We still have this capture. Or do we just take immediately? What's the difference? We have to find a good follow-up. If we capture with check here, the king could just move. I don't know. I'm thinking we bring this rook in first. But if we go here, this is the big decision. All right, I'm just going to bring the rook in. No, they probably want that queen move. Okay, and they're not going to show us any more after this. If we go here, what's the king going to do? Run back up here? All right, I'm going to pull up the analysis and see what they want. So we had a capture. We check with our bishop. They block. We capture. King captures. Queen captures with check. And now what? King to e7. They say that's best, bringing the king into the open here. And then we could just take the bishop. But what happens if they go here? Oh, we have the check up on the back rank. So that's a possibility. Oh, wow. The best move apparently is king up to e3, where we could be no, we can't be attacked because of our rook there. Okay. I mean, you could go queen up to e8 check, king to g6 check, after the king goes to h7. Then king up to h8, but then they want that king to e3 move. So if we do that immediately, apparently that's the best move. Then bishop to f5, or no, g4. Bishop to g4. What? Okay, I don't want to drag this video out forever. If you can look at this more on your own. Let's move on to, I believe it's the final problem here. Yes, problem number 5. Okay, material. We have 4 pawns. Our opponent has 4, and the rest of the material is even. The queen has just moved forward here, and the threat is checkmate with this bishop-queen battery, either here or here. So both squares threaten a checkmate. It looks like we may be forced to just capture their queen. And the bishop would recapture and then be attacking our rook. Unless we have a check. Do we have a good check here? Oh, wow, we do. Okay, so hopefully you found this move. I guess we end on an easy problem. Wow, okay. So, yeah, this problem is going to be much easier, unless you're having trouble finding the winning move. So pause the video if you need more time. If not, well then just remember to look for checks first. And then you would see we have a bishop lined up here, but also we have a queen that could give a check here. And that's possible without the pawn capturing us because of this bishop pinning this pawn to the king. So, nice little tactical pattern here. We capture, the king is forced to run, and then we deliver a mate here. All right, check and mate. So ended this video today with a great little pattern there. Definitely a nice little attack that you could try if you remember that. We'll take a look at it one more time. So the bishop is pinning the pawn, and that pawn's protecting this pawn, or so it seems. It's really not, because it's pinned, allowing our queen to just capture. With check, the king will be forced to run, and then we deliver mate here. So check and mate. All right, feel free to leave comments, like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching, and have a super chess day.